right. Should we get rid of? Should we do it all the dick jokes at first, or should we save those to kind of
No,
sprinkle
we're
them
gonna
up?
throw those dick jokes in as we go, man.
All right.
We save them for the better times.
For the better times. What's up, everybody? We appreciate you guys joining us.
There we go. Populate.
We're pumped. We're getting ready to talk some dick. All right. I think we should get all the jokes out of the way at
No,
first.
we
I
can't do
changed my mind.
it. We have to wait.
All right, so we want to talk Grady Dick, the outstanding shooter from Kansas. He's got some hops too. Um, bro, what do you think about overall like his fit with the Thunder? Because he's been talked about quite a bit, linked up with the Thunder recently.
Well, anytime that you see a shooter with Grady's ability is truly spectacular. One thing when I was going through his film, and obviously I like Kansas basketball and I like Bill Self, so I like to watch Kansas hoops. One of the things I love about Bill Self is that he is really what I would consider an expert at developing role players. And I look at Grady Dick and I say, Nick Collison, that type of player that you
No, Nick
see.
Collins,
I'm sorry, yeah, but the same system,
Darren Collison, I think maybe it was. I don't know.
same system, right? Anyways, so I look at it and I look at Grady Dick and I say Bill Self and I say, what could be the possibility that Grady fits on this team and does the what I would consider a role player to be on this team, because we're not looking for a star, we're not looking for a superstar, but right now we're looking for players that'll be able to come into the team right away and fit. And I look at Grady Dick at 19 years old and I say, this young man's ready to come in because his spot up shot. Let me go ahead and pull the stats out for his spot up shot. His pull up shot. I'm sorry. He shoots 46% from his pull up. I mean, I think that's really crucial because in the NBA, you have to have that pull up. You have to have a step back. You have to have all these other tools. You can't just be a spot up shooter. But when he's spot up shooting, which is again, it's all about the footwork. It's all about getting him open. He's 38% across the whole across the board. So that's inside the 3 point line and outside the 3 point line. So that right there is something I like to circle because that he can shoot if he's left open, and that's something that's Josh Giddey finds a lot of.
Hmm.
And on top of that, what's better than Giddy Dick? Like, I mean, the announcers would be going crazy with that. Like, Josh Giddy passes to Dick, wide open, baby.
They'd have fun with it, as we'd have with it. But overall, though, while it's fun to make a lot of puns, and we will, no doubt about that. But like his game is really good. Like every year, it seems like there's a white guy that can really ball that gets at as like, well, can he really ball? I think of like a player like Kevin Herter.
Hmm.
I think of um, who was the guy last year? 2 years ago was Franz Wagner. He just really showed out. There's constantly somebody who, okay, for some reason, maybe for kind of being prejudiced and holding back like his overall projection because he doesn't look like what we consider to be a future star or an elite player. I wonder if maybe Tyler Hero suffered from a little bit of that. Maybe that was more because his short arms. There's like a reason. There's like to be a little bit prejudiced and say like his build or his style, his whatever. It's hard to tell how it will go. A lot of confidence that his game is going to translate. I think he's built for the modern league.
Hmm.
He can shoot over top, smoothness of his shot. So that like nobody's going to question that. And when you hear people talk about Grady Dick, they're always going to say he's got the shot. He's got the shot. So then, you mentioned his pull up. So, shoot the three, put it on the floor and pull it up. So that's two levels. And then can he finish at the basket? And I noticed that he really does have the ability to get to the basket and finish. His height, his athleticism. If he had gone to, like, I don't know, a school like Duke. Now, I know
Hmm.
Kansas isn't, I get that, but a school like Duke, I mean, this guy would probably be, considered a top seven pick, and if he had
What's up,
gone
Blake?
to a different school, maybe like, I don't know, like what Kevin Herter went to, like Maryland. He might have been taken on also, and a higher pick too. It seemed
Hmm.
at school for him, but it kind of left him in a spot where he was surrounded by other talented players. So it wasn't just like gonna go out and get 40. Like
Hmm.
that just wasn't his game. I didn't watch him play that much, but I watched enough highlights. He played within the offensive system, and then he would score within it, which is good in the modern league. But this guy can
Yeah.
like he's already been able to. The question is, I think deep down is what type of competitor is he? Because defensively, he's gonna have to figure that out. But like the level of will take you a lot further than just the natural like level of talent and skill that you enter the NBA with.
Sure.
Takes pride on the defensive end, then he really could, be somebody that could be a two-way player, a three-level scorer, and be a really good fit. Uh, why teams like I think last year the Grizzlies took who I really liked and I felt like could be a good player. He could fall a little bit like that. Dick is going to be a top. He's going to be a lottery pick. I mean, you can agree on that, right, Dave?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I see how he moves without the ball. I see how he's fluent within the offense of the system in Kansas, and that translates very easily in the Oklahoma system. One thing without the way he moves without the ball is completely elite as far as a 19-year-old, causing issues on the defensive side for the other teams. And I think the thing that we have to look at is how big of an offensive threat he is all around. Um, I like the way his hands are quick as well. The fact is that he has such quick hands, and typically that's something you see on defense. That's a big thing on defense. But on offense, when you have quick hands, he's able to release the ball really quickly. He jumps. He has a high release point at 6'8", makes it really hard to block. And he has this high release point with quick hands. It's fast. So he catches the ball. He never brings the ball down. There's a lot of players that their first reaction is to bring the ball down, right? So he gets the ball and he gets it right here and he releases. There's barely any movement to his shot at all. And I think that's key when you have
That's
a six
super
foot
key.
eight guy releasing. And again, when Josh Giddey gets to the hole and passes to him, he needs to be able to get that shot off quickly. And if you look at the way that he releases the ball, I like it. He reminds me a lot of, not just because he's white, but a lot of Gordon Hayward. The way that he releases the ball, the way he gets downhill, his size, his knowledge of the game. He's very, very knowledgeable. So, if you're comparing him to a player, I would say Gordon Hayward. And Gordon Hayward was an all-star player for what, 9 seasons, eight seasons in the NBA. So that's, a good comp right there. I'm not saying he's going to get to that level, but if he's a good shooter and he learns how to play defense, then I feel like that puts you in a really good spot. One of the things that Kansas was really good at was passing the ball to the open space to where Grady was going to be at, and he would just stand there once he got there. Okay, so he would be running into a spot, then he would stand there, and the ball would get there about half a second later. But the whole point is that I've yet to see a player at 6'8" get his feet so set so quickly. It was like half a second on most of the shots that he got off. His feet were set before he got the ball, so he could release the ball within half a second of catching it. It's elite, man. To me, I see a young man that understands how to shoot the ball, how to release the ball. His shot is beautiful, and I keep going back to the fact of what he could be for this Oklahoma City Thunder if he's still available. Because again, I'm looking at him and I'm saying if he's still at 12, that means that something else happened. Other players impressed in the NBA and stepped up. And if that's the case, then we have to take a Grady Dick. I think the thing about is when you're looking at it, Mark, you talked about the 3 levels of scoring. Shooting the 3-pointer. He's got to pull up. He's got a great fadeaway. He's got a great turnaround jump shot. And he knows how to get to the hole when he needs to and using his size. He's not a small 6'8". You don't look at him and say, oh, wow, he's a small 6'8". No, he is a big, thick
What's up,
guy.
Sammy?
And he's just a big dude. His defensive effort out there, again, I wasn't blown away by it. He's got a lot of work to do, but 1.4 steals is not a bad stat for college. I think that's something that 1.4 steals a game is due to his hands quickness. And there's one play that I watched that he deflected the ball 6 times before he got the steal, 6 times. So He understands what it takes to get there, and his hand speed's incredibly fast. We don't play a lot of man and ISO defense, and that's really what his weakness is on defense, is
What's
that
up,
ISO,
Shane?
when he's designed to go one-on-one against somebody else. The ISO defense is something we want to cut out from him. But the thing about it is, we play a zone defense most of the time out there. Even if it's a matchup man, we're still dropping back in a zone type style. We would never have him play in that ISO defense. So again, he would look more effective out there than most other teams that he'd be on, being required to play ISO defense. We wouldn't require that from him when he was out there.
Yeah, dude. We say this,
Sammy.
but we really feel like say a lot about the direction Sam Presti sees his team going in. So Grady Dick to us represents someone who can support and
Absolutely.
threat. It's not someone that we've been picked by Sam early, but we have seen and heard a lot of interest when James Harden was up to be traded and they were trying to figure out what we were going to do with him. We went Thompson, we went after Bradley Beal, and when I look at Grady Dick, I'm like, this guy has the ability to shoot the ball at the next level, and it's not going to be those skills that people fail to recognize for very long. Within a few games, he's going to make it to the scouting reports for teams, and they're going to be like, okay, this guy's a problem. We had a guy like Doug McDermott, which was like, his thing was if you let him get going, then he can become a problem. But it was never like teams really gave a fuck about Doug McDermott. But there's a place for players who can shoot the ball, and he's young enough. I feel like Grady Dick, to me, represents the next level of really elite players. He at like a deep range and a step back as fluidly as a lot of players shoot their regular 3-point shot. And I just feel like because he's going to transition to the league and get plenty of shots, there's really a good chance that he plays for 12 to 15 years. And while every time you draft a player, you're hoping that they are one of those players, more often than not, even within the top 10, players don't make it to 15 years. So I just feel like this guy's got that level of game.
Yeah, the way that he plays isn't going to be hard on his body. A lot of the physical contact that he takes it, and with stride because of his body size. At 6'8", I mean, the way he looks out there, he looks like he's a good 225, 220. At 6'8", and that's a thick body at that age, at 19. So, that just is going to help him out. You look at these big guys that are like J Dub, that have these really thick bodies in the NBA, and LeBron James. Like these guys, they find a way to be able to use their body as an asset. And if he ever figures out how to use his dick as a problem, as a positive, then it's over, bro.
One. All right. Blake says Austin Reeves, and I like that.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
Austin has shown that a lot of teams made a mistake when they didn't get him. It's interesting because players like Austin, and then all of a sudden everybody's like trying to find the next Austin Reeves. Like we saw the same thing.
Well, let's just talk about it.
To be like
Austin Reeves. They just got swept. Are we talking LeBron James is years done with Los Angeles now? Are we talking it's done for them? And then, if so, what does that look like? Is he going to go try to play for a team that he can play with his son, or is he going to just go own a team for Las Vegas? I mean, what he said last night kind of rocked me because I haven't thought about an NBA without LeBron in 20 years. And all of a sudden he's just like, I need time to think about it. I don't know what I want to do now. Like, it's just like, wait a second here. Like, I thought we had 2 or 3 more years,
Stomped on his heart. And, that game, it was incredible what LeBron did in the first half. But it reminded me so much of when the Thunder beat them, and he said, it was like he set a record, and then he sat down. And then lost. It was like this game, bro, he kept playing in that third and fourth quarter, but I think he had like 33, 34 in the first half, and then he ended up on the game with 40. Like, and I don't even know that it was his fault. Like, Like other than not, but it was
Dude,
just like it
he
kind of reminded me of that game Kobe just wouldn't
Anthony
shoot.
Davis
Like
is just a bitch, man. I hate saying it. Like with all due respect, like I mean, if there was a Karen
I
of the
mean,
NBA, if there was a Karen of the NBA, AD would be it, man. Like I've never seen besides Luca cry and complain so much. Like, listen, I played the game in such a way that every single game I had bruises, I had bloody, I was bloodied and bruised every single game. And I watched AD out there, man, and he gets hit, and all of a sudden he's like squinting his eyes and holding his head, and it was just like, bro, like acting like that is like it just gets in your head and every little thing. And the problem is LeBron can't handle that. You know, he
no.
likes it when it was Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and they all did their own thing. You know, and AD he's got to constantly be like, "Come on, AD, be a man, be a man, AD, be a man." And I think he's just done with that. And then to me, like I look at that, and if he says he's done, right, then where's he gonna go? Like what team is going to be like, yeah, we'll take LeBron because LeBron wants to play with his son, right? He's got one more year left on his contract, so he's got whatever he wants to do. Man, could you see him go to Houston?
Could you doing a retirement tour? Like
No, he's too much into himself. And here's the thing about it is I look at it like I would see him have more success over with the 76ers, with the Knicks. Um,
yeah,
I mean, we could go on about the more success he would have with any of these other teams that are deeper, better players than and they have money. Like, and I think that's the thing about that. I'm sitting here looking at is like LeBron needs to be done in LA and he needs to go someplace else and he needs to try to bring a championship. I mean, fuck, go to the Suns, man. Do
yeah.
something else. I
That's
mean, do
that's a
something
great
else in the
idea,
Lakers. Got to get it out of the Lakers.
dude. That's I mean, it's interesting that you're bringing that up. Like, as in, like he may not retire, but maybe he shouldn't be with the Lakers anymore. Like the Lakers were a problem. Like halfway through the season, they had to readjust their lineup. They couldn't really get continuity. There was all sorts of trouble in the playoffs, and then to get swept like that.
Yeah.
Um, but like the Nuggets were really consistent
I told you it
here.
was going to happen after game two,
Yeah.
bro. I was like, they just don't have what it takes at all, And it's just like something just like it was out. The light bulb went out there in LA. But
I
man,
mean,
Sammy, I want to throw this out here, Sammy. I appreciate you a lot of ways, and I'm definitely going to be opening that box you just sent me online or on air so that you can see that be opened. But Perth Wildcats signed Alexander Sarr, which is the brother of Olivier, whatever,
yeah.
however you say his name. But let me just tell you this right here. Mark and I have looked at him. We've talked about him on the podcast before. We really, really like this young man. We think that he could be special. And it's one of the reasons that I believe that the Oklahoma City Thunder continuously keeps Sarr close to this whole situation.
What's up, Corey? Absolutely, Dave. You think it's a sweep tonight too with Miami?
Yeah, bro. I think, dude, I went back and I was like, what is wrong with the Celtics? And I got a, an eyeful that I wasn't expecting. So Masula, do you know what he does, bro? We've been there before. We've had a coach like this. He goes out there and plays with the guys. He's playing pickup basketball with the guys during practice and stuff like that. He's constantly with them playing hoops, and it doesn't teach the guys respect. You know, there's no separation. He's just one of the dudes. So when we say at the end of the games what's happening, I mean we know exactly what's happening. Nobody's listening to him, you know. And I'm watching it, and I just feel bad for Masula, man. Like he has no idea at this point how to be a head coach, and it's interesting because we've seen it happen before with other teams that have picked coaches that haven't been head coaches in any stretch of the imagination, and they always have a rough couple of years. And usually the rough couple of years are okay because the team isn't ready to compete. But the Celtics, they want to win. They want to win now. And, Spolsters is taking advantage of Masula. I mean, he's pushing all the buttons. He's doing all this other stuff. Like, I haven't seen a more masterful job of coaching against another team as Masula is doing right now, or as um, Spolstra is
Spolstra.
doing right now. Like he's a masterclass, bro, and it's beautiful.
Did you see Jokic's brothers pick up Kevin Malone?
Matt Malone's like,
Mike
put me
Malone.
down, put me down.
Mike Malone. I know he was not, yeah, but it was hilarious, dude.
Dude, those dudes are
Great,
huge.
yeah, great video. Um, so let's talk about. So we talked about Mike Malone, not much, but we're talking Missoula. Um, let's think about this with Missoula because I feel like Ham is fine in LA for now. He got some respect, but
No, he's
Missoula
done.
seems like.
He's done. Him's done.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, 100% he's done, bro.
Okay.
Like if they keep Ham, they have 0% chance of keeping LeBron.
How many years
and AD.
contract did they sign him to? Like they usually
It
give
doesn't
people.
matter, bro. LA goes through coaches like normal people go through underwear.
Um, so with
So
all right, so
Milwaukee,
I think Ham's around. Dave, you think he's gone?
I think
Missoula.
I think Missoula and Ham are both gone after the season.
Okay, let's talk about Missoula real fast. How do they get rid of Missoula? Do they fire him?
Well, I think there's a team that is always looking for a young coach to help them start developing players. So Missoula is going to be looked at as a player, player developmental coach, which is fine
That'll
because
mean in 2 years the
yeah,
Celtics have helped develop two coaches to go develop young teams.
yep, and it just sucks for the
Funny.
Celtics. But you don't got much more options at this point. You're kind of stuck.
So, but here's my question then. Does Brad Stevens have to step in from the front office to make this thing work?
If he keeps Brown, yeah, absolutely. If he keeps Brown, he's got to step in. Now, he's got Will Hardy. He's got
Can he fire a head coach? Yeah, because then Will Hardy, that's a third head coach that they
yep.
prepared.
Well, and I think this is the thing is that here's a problem with Missoula, and this is the reality.
What if
is
they
that
went and got
he doesn't
Will Hardy?
have an assistant coach that's been there before.
Would
If
Will
he had an
Hardy
assistant coach,
would Will Hardy quit for the Jazz?
oh fuck no, no. Danny
Why not?
Ainge and Will Hardy are connected at the hip,
You
bro.
you think so, but
No,
think
and I
about it.
say that, and I only say that
But
is
the
because
Celtics is a better job.
Jazz, he never takes the Jazz unless Hardy says yes, he'll come.
Yeah, but shit, dude,
Never
you would
takes the
take the
job,
Celtics
Jazz.
job. You know it.
What's that?
Celtics job over the
Well, I
Jazz.
mean, yeah, but here's the thing: is that
Will
if I'm
Hardy's the
Will
right
Hardy,
coach.
if I'm Will Hardy, I'm saying I've got 9 draft picks. I've got a really good young core that almost made the playoffs. That I think they tanked, and that's why they didn't make the playoffs. Like we could have made the playoffs. Really young core. I got Danny Ainge, that is one of my best buds. I just got to let this roll. And the thing is, Danny Ainge is going to pay him whatever it takes to stay there. And if he's going to go and say, "Hey, I'm getting called by the Celtics," he's going to be like, "Fucked off! I'll give you a 4, 5, 6 year deal, whatever you want." Like he knows how valuable Will Hardy is. I mean, I always joke around with him as being the best looking coach in the NBA, but he's also, I would consider him 1A, 1B as far as Coach D and him as the best young coaches in the league, and that's including assistant coaches as well. Like he is elite coach, and there's no way Danny Ainge lets him walk.
But it's the Celtics, bro. Celtics championship.
I hear you,
It's
but
different.
if you were in this situation, you got a stable environment, right? A stable environment in the Utah Jazz, or you got a turmoil. You've had turned over 2 coaches now, probably. You've got your wife of one of your owners is sleeping with a coach. You've got like all this other shit that's happening in the locker room. I would be like, man, I'm cool with my stability. I'm cool with just being happy with getting $10 million a year and staying here in Utah. Like to me, like that, I would pick that. I mean, especially he's got a young family. Like, do you really want to go back to Boston and have all this pressure that you got to win now? Or do you want to be in a spot that you can grow? And as you grow, you put your team out there in a better and better position. I think the Utah Jazz are going to win a championship in the next 15
Yeah.
years.
Traditionally, they don't, and the Celtics
I
do.
can't say that
If you
about the
wanna be-
Celtics though, man.
Yeah, but if you want to be somebody who wins multiple championships in your career, you're better off betting on the Celtics than the Jazz. But
Yes.
listen, Milwaukee, I agree with you, bro. Like, he's saying that 1 year coaches are going to get fired, and I agree. And that's why I'm sitting here thinking Ham will probably be back. I think also that the only way that the Celtics get a different coach is if they bring in their GM to coach, which I know he doesn't want to do.
Sure.
And if he coaches and passes it to Missoula,
Yeah.
like, and they keep paying Missoula, like, you can't pay two people NBA head coach money.
No.
Do it if you're in the last 2 years of a contract.
True, man.
But it's, and I
I'm
think these guys both signed 4-year deals.
looking at
I'm just guessing. But it's a 4-year deal situation, and both these guys are in the first year of that. So I'm just like you can't eat like 3 years, but maybe you can. But it's like what they're getting paid $7 to $10 million a year.
But
Maybe it's a little less.
Here's my thing is that I'm looking at the available coaches this year, right, man? Monty Williams, you've got
Yeah, I know.
Budholzer, you've got all these coaches that know
Budenholzer,
how to
yeah.
win games. There's no way in the world that you don't go out there and
Nick
at least try
Nurse.
to get.
I know. Could you imagine if you missed out these championship level
That's
coaches?
my point. Is that if this was at any other year, I keep it. I keep the guys that I have in place. But this year, there is, I want to say,
The nice
6
thing is
championships
coaches, you
represented.
don't pay coaches salary against the salary cap.
Yeah.
So you pay a coach, you
Go.
pay him $15 million to go away.
And you
it's
need
not hurting you.
a stabilizer. You're not saying no to Masula forever. You're saying no right now. Go learn your trade. If you want to come back in the coaching system, cool. We'll give you be the highest assistant paid coach in the league. We'll give you whatever it takes, but we need Budholzer to come in here for 2 years. We need blank to come in here for 2 years. Like we saw in Miami happen when Spoelstra
Dude,
couldn't do it. You know, Pat
Nick
Riley
Nurse
came
would
back
be
into
such
the stuff.
So with Budenholzer, you got a guy that's going to create the system that is productive.
Yeah.
With Nick Nurse, you're going to have a guy that
Nick Nurse, there's another one.
is elite on the defensive end and creates all sorts of
Frank
things. I
Vogel.
think they'd be better off with Nick Nurse. Who do you think they'd be better off with?
I think
Could be
Nick
Monty
Nurse,
Williams though.
Nick Nurse or Nick Vogel would be Nick Vogel.
Frank
Vogel. Nick
Another
Nurse or Frank
championship
Vogel.
coach.
Like to me, those two guys, they know how to handle players and they know how to handle attitudes and mentalities. So that's what I'm going to. But that's just for stability. And I don't want to get too old of a guy because I'm not saying that Buck isn't a great coach. He does really good with players, but I would like a younger coach than Buck. And Buck is going to be one of those guys that I'm looking at as being a stabilizer in Los
mean
Angeles. Yeah, Buck. I'm sorry, Buck. Budenholzer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Is it Buck Budenholzer? Butterbuck.
It's Mike Budenholzer or something. Budenholzer.
Which whatever his name is. I look at him going to Los Angeles, bro. Let's just be honest, because he could be somebody that stabilizes a ship in LA. But I really, really struggle with the Celtics because it's not just one thing they need right now. It's a mentality. It's a lifestyle. It's a a separation between church and state. Like they don't have that right now. They don't have that with Masula. They have a coach that is in there playing, doing the assistant coach's stuff. Like that's the one thing I love about Coach D is he's young, but he's doing coaching stuff. He's there talking to the guys. He's not there trying to shoot around with them and play pickup with them and like yelling and screaming at him and pushing him. And like he missed 2 games this year because he got something happened to his eye socket during a pickup game. Like that's I get that mentality and style, but like that's what assistant coaches do. That's what shooting coaches do. That's not what head coaches do. You can't have, it's called mixing church and state. You can't be doing that stuff anymore. And I feel bad for him because he's a great coach, but he's just 2 to 3 years away from being able to have that head coach responsibility. And it's not just me saying this. Like, Brad Stevens could be like, hey, listen, you got a short year. I'm going to teach you how to be a head coach this next year. It's going to be a different style. Brad Stevens could do that and take him under his wing. But if I'm Brad Stevens, I'm saying I'm not giving, $5 billion to this guy and hopefully he figures it out. I've got to go and I got to figure this out because if I don't figure this out and I fire the head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't turn it around. I'm next to go. So he's got to go and he's got to make it sure that either A, he's going to die on the ship or he's going to try to turn it around. And Dude, you've got to try something at this point because you're going to lose Jaylen Brown unless you do something different. And as much as you want to say, well, yeah, trade Jaylen Brown and get Damian Lillard or get this player, that player, like you'll never be able to replace Jaylen Brown when he's at his peak, ever. And as much as people are like, trade him, trade him, trade him, if they trade him, I hope Oklahoma City gets him because he's going to be one of those players that everybody looks back and said, why the fuck would the Celtics trade him? Trade him. Why did they do that? Like, I get it. He has bad games once in a while, but remember, he's still under 24 years old.
I
You
was
know?
thinking about it as a Thunder fan. It's hard not to when you see a player like Jeff Green still getting playing time. And I understand like the sense of urgency we had when we traded for Perkins, and I really loved Perkins and I defended that trade so much. But I finally come to that point where I'm over defending that trade. Like Jeff Green and Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant are all still playing in the NBA. Perk is not. Perk stopped playing a long time ago. I feel like there isn't a moment that you start trading young players that have long NBA careers. Like you should be loyal to these guys forever. And I get like you can argue we wouldn't have made it to the finals that year,
Yeah,
but you know what? Our window would have been longer.
sure.
And always rather and bet on a longer window than a higher peak with a crash. So I hope like as we go forward, we kind of learn from that. And like I have a lot of respect for what Uncle Jeff does out there. Like he's so consistent. He knocks down shots on a regular basis. He finishes above the rim with authority. He
Yeah.
boxes out. He understands the value of a possession at the end of the game. He's a leader. He plays sporadic minutes and he does whatever job the coach asks for him. And he does it with like the best attitude. And that's why he has like the best reputation in the NBA. And I'm just like, I wish we had never traded him. Like
Yeah.
I've always like I saw him at the grocery store when he played for the Thunder, and he waved at my daughter, stuff like that. And it's kind of like it was cool. I was like, oh, I like Jeff Green, but I never like, well, we have to keep Jeff. But the longevity of his career has proven to me that trading him was the wrong choice,
Yeah.
and we should have the youth movement. And Jeff Green was wearing a Thunder uniform, and probably the only guy of that group who is still wearing a Thunder uniform. But neither here nor there. I'm glad for him and his success now. But it's interesting that he's the last of that Thunder group who made it to the playoffs that I mentioned. He's the last one standing right now.
Yeah. And one thing I love about Sam, what he does as well is he's not afraid to go to the undrafted players. He's not afraid to go and pick players off of their first rookie contract scales. We call Kenny Hustle plays, guys like that are going to come in and end up getting another contract for, $8 to $10 million, 9, 12, whatever it is a year. Like those are big time contracts in the face of the future of their franchise. And I look at Sam and say, yes, do we need a big man out there? Yes, but you're right. Trading these young assets and young players for that big player, big body, extra big body, because that's all it would be right now, isn't worth it. Because we still don't know what type of player Poku, we still don't know what type of player all these other guys are going to be yet. We can sit here and say J Dub's going to be this type of player, but next year he could go out and tear his Achilles. Tear both of his Achilles on the same play, and next thing you know is it takes him 2 years to get back to the place he was. So we don't really know what's going to happen. We can sit here and say, I think this will happen, I think this will happen, but we don't know.
We don't know. Wani, it's gonna be around guys, and we don't want to be the Wolves.
We don't.
Gobert.
Seriously, like what were they thinking?
I was thinking about that.
We
as such a
laughed
great
about that
example
so
of
hard.
Milwaukee, too. Like, and you bring in a new voice who pushes the player, and it just all of a sudden it's like, can we make this work anymore? Like if that was a rookie player on a rookie scale contract, but giving up that many picks and that much invested, they're all kind of like, well, you guys have to work it out.
Yeah, dude. No, I mean, and that's why we, as Oklahoma City Thunder fans, we want to see the longevity of the team. And how do you create longevity? Well, we've seen it happen in the past in the NBA where teams start to have, success for 10 years. Well, how do you switch the success for 10 years? Well, I look at the Utah Jazz as a great example. You know, they went from Karl Malone, John Stockton, to Darren Williams, right? And Hayward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're in a different transition. Yes, there's been a transition since then too. But when you,
Sure.
yeah,
He's an
like you're
all-star for
able to,
them.
yeah, transition, keep on transitioning, like keep on getting these players that you draft and then trading them out as you go. Now, does the Jazz have a championship behind them? That no, because they haven't completely ever torn down like the Thunder did. You know, they never cashed in older players like the Thunder did. And I think that's the difference. If you can watch the Utah Jazz consistently have a team through the last 30 years somehow find a way to compete in playoffs, right? And then you're able to give them picks behind that. What does that mean? Well, that
When was the
means that
last time the Jazz had a number one pick?
that's my point. You
I
know,
can't even
like
think of one time at
and
all.
and if you think about that, how you're able to consistently keep on going and bringing
But
in
if you
new
look at
players.
how come the Spurs able to build 5 championships? Well, they got 2 number 1 picks and put them on the team, and then drafted well behind that.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, you got to be with the Celtics over the Jazz. Who knows? They might change the future, but I think the Jazz should have kept turning down. Like they ended up keeping a few players that
But the
they
players they kept though, I like though, man. They didn't fully commit to it because they wanted to show the value of the players.
yeah, but
The
still like once
problem is that they waited to the CBA change now, and those valuable assets they had that they could have got a first round
yeah,
draft pick. They don't.
mid like deadline, bro, they could have traded Markkinen for a pretty damn good haul,
I know, dude.
and it would have been more than what got him. But they
I
were
know. Like
thinking
I
at
think
that point,
they probably could have cashed in a top 5 pick this year for him
yeah,
with one of the teams that are in the bottom 5. They probably could have gone out to, Portland or, you know what I'm saying? Like a team
yeah,
like that would have loved to have Market and you know what? They want to keep him. Look at it as a part of their future. And Walker Kessler, I like that matchup with those guys. It works well in Utah. So
it does, dude. I'm excited about the finals, bro. We're almost they're 1 game away. It seems like it's apparent the writing is on the wall. Now the Celtics just have to lay down, and they've got some figuring out to do, like the Lakers do. But the Nuggets are a juggernaut, and the Heat are about as determined as I've ever seen a team
ever.
come into the playoffs. It's interesting with the Heat that if you think back, they lost their playing game.
I
They
know.
lost their way into the tournament,
I know it's insane. They went 1-1 in the
which
play-ins.
1-1
Dude, it's like they
now
picked
don't
Bucks,
put them
man.
out.
That's who they wanted to play. It's Jimmy saying, "Hey guys, we gotta lose this first game because we want to play the Bucks."
We want to play the Bucks. All right, that dude, I love that. All right, man. Let's get back on and talk tomorrow.
All right, dude.
We
Done.
hope you guys will join us.
Hell yeah, guys. Thanks a lot.
See you then. See ya.